Welcome to Take the Time. It's good to be with you today. It's Tuesday afternoon, and I want to look today at authority. It's an issue that most of us probably give some thought to on a daily basis. You either give it some thought because you are in a position of authority or you are in a position under authority. The reality is all of us are in a position under authority. All of us respond to somebody. Even if you are a boss, you're still a boss under a boss. And ultimately, all of us are in a position under the authority of the Lord. And so I want us today to just consider authority. I see a lot of talk today, a lot of discussion on authority, especially because of the situation we're in, the authority of the government, the authority of local, officials, things like that. Lots and lots of discussion on authority. And one of the things that I thought would just be, I think, encouraging to be reminded today of is that while we can have discussions on the range of authority in terms of those aspects of things, we need to be reminded that there is one authority that is never in question, and that is the Lord's authority. And I think it's interesting that when you look at the New Testament during the ministry of Jesus, one of the things that the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes and the religious leaders of that day, one of the things that they really always struggled with was Jesus's authority. They did not like that he had authority, and they always wanted to know, where did it come from? In Luke chapter 20 and verse 1, it says, "On one of the days while he was teaching the people in the temple and preaching the gospel, the chief priests and scribes with the elders confronted him, and they spoke, saying to him, 'Tell us by what authority you are doing these things, and who is the one who gave you this authority?'" You see, they saw his ministry and what he was doing, and because they could not invalidate the very actions that he was taking, if someone hadn't walked for 40 years and Jesus says to them, "Stand up, take up your mat and walk," and they stand up, take up their mat and walk, you can't argue with that. You can't invalidate that. And so they want to invalidate the authority behind what he is doing, or say that, he's doing these things by the power of Beelzebub, by evil authority, by the devil. And so, they begin to then attack his authority. And so they ask questions like this. Of course, if you go on to read the rest of chapter 20, you'll find that he sees behind their veiled attempts to, corrupt his ministry, and he refuses to answer their question. Because Jesus knew where his authority came from. His authority came from the Father, and he knew that his authority was unquestioned and it was unrivaled, and that it did not matter what group of people or what individuals were challenging his authority, or what the circumstances of the situation were. His authority was permanent. It was everlasting. It was always the ultimate authority. And I think especially in this time that we are in, it is especially important for us to remember that God's authority is ultimate. And I think sometimes we get a little too caught up in thinking that God is primarily concerned with worldly authorities. And I think that sometimes we get more passionate and more zealous for the authorities that are here on earth and the authorities that have temporal significance than we get passionate about the eternal authority, and that is our Lord Jesus Christ and the authority that he has over the spiritual realm of things. And I'm just here to tell you today that if Jesus doesn't come back for 1,000 years, there's going to be some changes in authorities. There's going to be some changes in who the rulers are and who the leaders are and who the people in charge are. And there's going to be some more epidemics that take place. And there's going to be some ups and downs in our world. And there's going to be some challenges. And there's going to be other viruses. And there's going to be all these things that are going to take place. The only way that, people are going to have any kind of hope is if they remember that there's an authority that is not affected by any of that. That while there may be earthly changes in regimes or earthly changes in authorities or earthly changes in leadership, the eternal authority never changes. It's not any less powerful today than it was yesterday. God is not any less in control today than he was yesterday. And Jesus Christ's authority came from his Father. The reason that he did not answer the question was because they would not have liked or agreed with the answer. And he knew that. They were trying to trap him. They were trying to belittle his ministry. And you and I, as God's children, as God's people, we know that God's authority is supreme. It's ultimate. It's unending. It's everlasting. It is the foundation to our lives. And I think that we need to herald that. We need to be, as God's people, as Christian men and women, we need to be a beacon of hope and a beacon of light, that there is an authority, there is a rulership, a kingship, there is a leadership that is far more significant and far superior than anything that we see in this earthly realm. And so just wanted to encourage you today that we shouldn't get too caught up in some of the worldly debates and arguments. I'm not saying that they don't have importance. I'm not saying that they don't have significance for our life. And I'm not saying that, we shouldn't pray about those things and that we shouldn't have a voice in them. But what I am saying is that those things should not be more significant or more important to us than the spiritual matters of our life. And I think sometimes as Christians, we get a lot more excited about things that have no eternal consequence whatsoever than we do about, spiritual realities. And I'm far more concerned about someone's eternal destination than I am about their temporal satisfaction. And so just want to share that with you today. I want to encourage you today to remember that there is an eternal authority out there that is still in control. He still sits on his throne. He's still the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and he's still watching over this earth, still got it in control. And even when people question that and wonder about it, and even when he doesn't give an answer to it because he doesn't have to, we can still take hope in knowing that God is still God. He's still King. He's still Lord. He's still the Holy of Holies. And we can still trust him. Good to be with you today. We'll be back with you tomorrow on Take the Time.